Welcome back, CSE 121, Programming 1, Fall 2020, to Part 2 of Exercise 11, or Rock, Paper, Scissors. And we were kind of in the middle of this one here. And this is the version that will not have the while loop. It'll just run one time. And what we're going to do with this is probably just do a lot of copying and pasting. We tested it so that choosing R works. That's for rock. And we have the three options, whether we win, lose, or tie. And we're just going to copy that. So let's just continue with this one and make sure we can get it working all the way through. And then in Part 3, we'll probably do our while loop. So I made my text a little bit smaller here so you could see everything here so they're not breaking lines as much. So hopefully that's okay. I'll zoom in if it's harder to see. But what we're going to do now, since everything's working, and again, I'll just run it one more time here. I'll pick R. And I lost because paper covers rock. So I'm picking R, and that's the only options we have here are when you pick R. So we're doing if, elif, elif. We'll just keep doing these elifs because we're either going to pick R, P, or S, or as an else if it's something else, if we don't pick R, P, or S. So at least that'll catch us if we don't put in the right letter. So we'll do that at the end. Right now, if you don't put in a letter that we have, if you put in J, nothing happens because there's nothing catching J, and it's not an error. It's not trying to do math with J or anything like that. So there's no error that would be happening if you enter any other letter. So let's continue with this. I'm just going to copy this. This will be the easiest thing to do, to just copy this whole block here and paste it. And be very careful when you're doing copying and pasting. Eventually we'll use loops and functions because copying and pasting isn't always efficient because it's very easy to miss something. So we're going to try not to miss anything here. So I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to say pick paper because we're going to go in order for rock, paper, scissors. And in all these options here, and you can see it even highlights all these things. I'm going to put a P for paper, and every place where it has a P, and you could even highlight, you could even hold your either Control on Windows or Command on Mac and double click, and anywhere where it has an R, you could change it to P. Now we have to think about the scenarios because this is win, lose, or tie. Now we're picking paper. So what wins when we pick paper? Not scissors, because scissors cuts paper. So these are going to get flipped because with paper now, we're going to win against rock and we're going to lose against scissors. So we just have to move this. So you could cut this and paste this here, and then so you're not losing one, and then cut this one and paste this one back in here. Remember, they're all going inside this string. So you win because paper covers rock, and you lose because rock crushes scissors. No, we're picking paper here. We're losing because scissors cuts paper. So we're not even using this one here. So we're going to have to say scissors cuts paper. So that's why they're winning, because if I have paper and they have number 2, because if I pick paper, and let's see, we have to think about win, lose, or tie here. So if we want to keep it in the win, lose, or tie, this is where you have to think about what you're doing here. Are you either going 3, 2, 1, or are you going win, lose, or tie? So if you pick paper, that means I'm picking 2 and they're picking rock. So this has to change to 1. So if you're going to stick with the win, lose, or tie, you got to make sure you change these numbers too, or just stick with the numbers and go there. But we're going to try and stick with win, lose, or tie. So we have to look at the win scenario. So we're picking paper and we're covering rock, so that means they have rock. Now in this one, if we lose, that means they pick scissors, so they have 3. So they're picking 3 there because they're having scissors, which cuts paper, because we're choosing P. So that works okay. And then this one, the tie is going to be paper because that means we both pick paper, and that means they're going to be picking 2. So we just have to double check this stuff. You just have to think about it and say, okay, I'm picking paper. If I win, they choose rock. If I lose, they choose scissors. And if we tie, they choose paper. So you have to update these numbers and then update these statements that are here. And now that we have, I think, all of them, I think we can, when we paste it a third time, we should be able to just copy and paste some of these that are in here. So we have our pick paper scenario. And let's run it here just to see what we have so far. We'll try out paper. There's a P, and it says you lose because scissors cuts paper. Well, I guess that's right. Scissors does cut paper. So now if you're not sure what they picked, you could throw just something else down here. You could throw a print statement at the very end. It could just be after everything and just put print and just put CPick. And that way you know what they picked. So let's run it one more time and just see what happens here. I'm going to put P, and it says you lose, scissors cuts paper. That means the computer picked 3, which is scissors, and scissors cuts paper. So that works. So I don't really need that. I could cut that. I could always put it back if I need it, but that's working right now. So our paper is working, and now I'll just copy this one more time. and we'll do the scissors. And again, take your time with this. If you need to put an extra, line in here or something just to break these up, do that. So this is picking scissors. So this is when we're picking scissors. We're picking scissors here, and that means we're picking S. And then I'll command click on here and on that one, and I'll change them both to S. So if we're picking S, so if you pick S, you pick S, you pick S. And also, one thing I forgot to do here is if we're going in order from if, elif, elif, these should all be elif. We don't have to start over. There's no reason to start over. We'll just keep these elifs until the end. We'll have it as basically one series going through here with one if, all elifs, and then an else at the bottom. So we could keep these elifs. And there is a reason why you won't want to start over, and we've seen it in the past, but right now we'll just keep going down. There's no reason to try and explain it now, because actually it might not hurt us, but let's just keep going down with the elif. And we also have to change these numbers, because if we pick scissors, we have to look up here. Remember, scissors is 3. That means we're picking 3. And if we win, what does scissors beat? Scissors beats paper. So that means they have to pick 2, so they lose. So scissors beats paper, and this is going to be scissors cuts paper, and we know we have this one, right? So we're going to copy that one and put it here. And then when we're not going to use paper cuts rock again. I think we're done with that one, because we're not dealing with paper versus rock here, so we can take that out. So we win because scissors cuts paper, and then we lose because rock crushes scissors. Now I think we have a rock crushes scissors up here. We can copy this one, rock crushes scissors, and put that down here. So we're going to lose because rock crushes scissors because we're picking scissors. So we lose, you lose, rock crushes scissors, and because they're picking 1 this time. So we're picking 3, they're picking 1. And then this one has to be 3. We're both picking scissors, so it's a tie. So now we could just, if you don't want to type scissors again, just copy it and paste it in here. And that works pretty easy. So we now have the 3 scenarios. And while I'm in here, I'll do one more scenario. And I'll just put the else up here. And the else won't have a condition. And this is just if there's anything else that's in here. And that would just be you, because the computer can only pick 1, 2, and 3. So we're just going to put else, and we're just going to put print. Now, eventually we'll be able to make it enter, go back in here and just start over again. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to say, that you got it wrong. We're just going to put a string in here and say, please enter R, P, or S. And we'll put an exclamation point because we're telling them that. Now this will just end when we do this. So if they enter something that's not R, P, or S, it's just going to end. So we only have a one-off scenario here. So let's just run it and see what happens. So I'll put in R. You lose, paper covers rock. Let's run it again. Let's put in paper. You win, paper covers rock. That makes sense. And I'll put in S. And you lose because rock crushes scissors. That means they must have picked rock. And we assume they're okay right now. Like I said, you could put the C pick, because we know what we're picking, but we don't know always what the computer picks. We're just trusting by this message that's printing out. But remember, you could mess up this message. That's one thing, that the computer's never wrong, you are. So you could put in the wrong message here and you think something's right, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I copied and pasted the wrong thing here. So it's never a bad idea to go here and just put CPIC and and print that out, and just print out the CPIC. So I'll just put a print statement here and put CPIC in parentheses and make sure I print that out. So it's never a bad idea just to double check. So I'll just try it one more time. R, you lose because paper covers rock. Now they pick 2, which is paper. We know that, there's only 3 here, so it's not that hard to remember the rock, paper, and scissors. So that seems to work. And then I'll do the P. Now they got scissors, which is 3, and that sounds right, and scissors cuts paper. And we'll run it one last time. I'll just put it in S there just to confirm. And they picked 2, which is paper, and I won because scissors cuts paper. So everything seems to be working, and we'll just try one more scenario. If I put in like J, it says please enter R, P, or S. Now they picked 1, but it doesn't matter because we don't have anything that's going up against it. So it's just saying please enter R, P, or S. So it's just giving us a kind of a admonishment here saying enter the right letter. And anyway, they picked 1, which was rock, so it didn't really matter. So we can take this out for now, or you can comment it out because, and it's not part of the else. This print CPIC is running after our conditional statement here. your else is basically being used if none of these are picked. So if there's no R, if there's no P, if there's no S. It's R and these things, it's P and these things, it's S and these things, and if nothing else, it just say please enter R, P, or S, because it must mean that you entered the wrong thing, which it did here. So that's working. So this is working okay. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to keep score. That'll make it more interesting, and we'll have some points. So I think what I'll do is I'll do that in part 3, because we could stop here. This is a good place to stop, and we'll pick that up, and we'll do the whole while loop with part 3, and we'll actually fork this and make this a new repel, which I guess I'm going to call it. And we'll make a new repel with part 3, and we'll put a W in it or a 2 or something like that. And that way, if this is working, it'll be easier to throw this in our while loop for our next version of this. So we'll stop here. We'll see you with part 3.